Now, whether you believe in manifestation or whether you don't, you're going to want to hear what I'm about to say, as this could change your outlook on manifestation completely. Listen up. Hi, I'm Callie, your go-to life and mindset coach, and I'm here to support you on this crazy journey we call life. So, manifestation, this is a word that's been bandied around quite a lot recently, and depending on where you get your information from in relation to manifestation will probably determine the way that you perceive it. And I suppose your overall opinion and outlook on manifestation too. Now, before I get started, I just want to put it out there that I do actually believe in manifestation, and I'm going to give you some examples throughout this episode in relation to how manifestation has kind of happened in my life. And also, I'm going to show you the way in which manifestation is also supported scientifically as well, but probably not in the way that you're expecting it to be. I'm the kind of person who believes anything is possible if you put your mind to it. But it's only just dawned on me in the last few years how powerful our belief systems are in shaping the reality around us, the way that we see the world. I also believe to some extent that the universe is way bigger and way more vast than simply us just being physical beings on planet Earth that go through this process of evolution and then just die. And I suppose we're never going to really know the truth behind it until that time comes. And then how are we going to be able to tell anyone else what it's actually like after that? But manifestation as such, I've always questioned in a way, and this kind of stems a little bit from when I read The Secret quite a few years ago now. You may be familiar with this book, you may have watched the documentary on it, and there is a lot of usefulness behind The Secret, but I'm going to talk you through how what we've learned from The Secret has shifted over the last few years as well. So for those of you who don't know about The Secret, it talks all about the law of attraction. And if you're really new to the law of attraction, to put it really simply, the law of attraction is if you think positive thoughts, positive things will be attracted to you. So you think positive and you attract positive things in your life. And this can happen the other way as well. So if you think negative thoughts, negative things will be attracted to you. So ultimately, the idea behind law of attraction is if you keep thinking something over and over again, it's eventually going to happen. It's eventually going to appear in your reality. Now, you may have some thoughts yourself around that already, just based off the explanation of what I've just given you in terms of the law of attraction. But obviously, over the years, we've now started to see this introduction of the law of assumption instead, and this has become much more popular and kind of overridden a lot of what the law of attraction originally stated and set out. So now, rather than just thinking something over and over again and it all of a sudden appearing in your reality, appearing in your world around you, the idea behind the law of assumption is that you assume something to be true and you hold that belief that this is true and it's going to happen for you, or it has already happened for you, and you keep that assumption. So you genuinely believe something to be of absolute truth and it will manifest into your reality. So there's this shift now between just thinking something enough and it eventually coming true to actually genuinely believing and assuming something to be true. So it was actually a friend of mine who introduced me to this whole manifestation and the law of assumption when I was going through a bit of a rough patch last year. And she mentioned a few really well-known names in the law of assumption community. You may know of some of these yourself. And what I realized is there was so much complexity behind it. You get introduced to birds before land, living in the end. What else is there? There's ignoring the 3D, focusing on the 4D, and it's a lot to take in. And how true is a lot of this stuff? How realistic and relevant is a lot of this stuff to manifestation? So I do believe that if you genuinely believe you can do something, but reality is kind of showing you otherwise, it's throwing some curveballs in the way, that if you keep pushing and you keep that dedication, that eventually it can happen for you if you persist. So this whole idea behind persistence is something that I do believe to be very true and very relevant in terms of manifestation and just living life generally. And obviously this is so much easier to do if you genuinely believe that you can do it. So many amazing things have happened for people that have just persisted in that state of adversity, and when things haven't been quite going right for them, they've continued and they've kept going and eventually got themselves to where they've always wanted to be. And that's amazing. And that just shows us the power of manifestation. Manifestation, maybe, is it just persistence? Who knows? But what we do know from that is that they have that dedication, they have that genuine belief in their ability and their success in getting there, that they push themselves regardless of what their reality, the world around them, is showing them. Now, what a lot of the TikTok influencers get you to do, to get you to kind of start believing in the magic, I suppose, of manifestation, is to get you to think of an object that is quite unique, quite individual, something you wouldn't necessarily see every day, and to just keep thinking of that object. So something like a purple car or a pink balloon, a bright blue door or something like that, and just living in that assumption, that belief that it's going to show up in your reality, because it has to. So I tried this myself. So when my friend first introduced me to manifestation, this was one of the things that I had a go at doing. And so I thought, I'm going to think of a really unique object, something a little bit different. And I thought, okay, I'm going to think of a cat. It's a black and white cat with a red collar. And I kept thinking about it for a couple of days, and eventually that thought just kind of passed and it settled, and I was just under the assumption that I would find this black and white cat with a red collar. And one day I was on Facebook just scrolling through, and on one of our community pages someone had posted a picture of a black and white cat with a red collar. I'm thinking, oh, this is great. This is proving to me that manifestation is a thing. And so I kept trying this with loads of different things. I tried it with the purple car. I think I did one with a purple balloon at one point. I think I did one with a bright orange car, and there was me thinking of a white horse, and I kept seeing images of white horses, or I'd see signs for white horse pubs and things like that. So ultimately this was happening, and I was experiencing what these TikTok law of assumption influencers were telling me to do. Sometimes it only took a couple of days, sometimes it took a few weeks for me to manifest this into my reality, but eventually I saw it at some point. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into this with some science. So I could potentially be taking a little bit of the magic away, a bit of a trigger warning, but I'm going to try to explain this from a scientific perspective of what happens in our brain when these kinds of experiences happen. So you may have heard me talk about the reticular activating system in a previous episode. So for those of you that don't know, the reticular activating system is something that occurs in our brain, something that we have in our brain, and it has lots of different functions. And one of those functions is how we perceive the world around us. So it's in control of how we perceive the world around us and what our brain chooses to focus on. So when our brain is fixated on something, it will make sure that we see it in some way, shape or form. But it can also happen the opposite way as well. So let's take the example of if you lose your keys first thing in the morning, and in your head you're thinking, I'm never going to find these keys. So you're frantically running around the house trying to find your keys, and you can't find them anywhere. Chances are you have seen them, and eventually you do find them, and they've always been in that place that you know you've looked 1,000 times, but you haven't seen them, and you can't figure out why you didn't see them in the first place when you looked there so many times. That's because your reticular activating system is in place. So your brain doesn't want to be wrong. You always have to be right. And if you've convinced your brain that you can't find something and you won't find something, even if your brain sees it, it'll acknowledge it, but it won't show it to you because you've convinced yourself that you won't find them. That's your reticular activating system. So when our brain is so fixated on something, it will make sure that it points it out to us if we know we're going to see it, or vice versa. If we know we're not going to see it, it'll make sure we don't see it. That object has always been there, but your brain won't focus on it because you are so dead set that you won't find it or you won't see it. So going back to my manifestation example, those objects that I've manifested are always around me, but because I've become focused on them and I'm adamant I'm going to see them, I've created the assumption that this is going to appear in my reality in some way, shape or form. When it is in my reality, my reticular activating system is triggered and it's ensuring that it shows it to me. So because I've focused on a purple car or an orange car, as soon as one appears around me, my reticular activating system is triggered and it will make sure I see them. Chances are that those objects are always going to be there, but it's our reticular activating system that ensures that we see them and we focus on them because that's what we've channeled our brain to focus on. So to give you another example of this, you yourself might be experiencing it if you're trying for a baby, or there might be a friend of yours who's trying for a baby, and they might say to you, I'm just seeing pregnant women everywhere, or they're seeing adverts for baby products and images of babies, all these different things. Those objects are around the person or yourself all the time, but because your reticular activating system is now triggered to pregnancy, it will make sure that it presents everything in your reality that is reflective of pregnancy, because that's what your brain is focusing on. So if you think of something enough, eventually you're going to see it around you, because your brain's just naturally on the hunt for it, and sometimes subconsciously too. So sometimes we're not aware that our brain is actually hunting for these objects, but we've created that assumption and we're going to see them eventually. So yes, I suppose we can sometimes construct the reality that we want, because our brain will always attract our attention to that desired result or outcome that we are manifesting or assuming to be true. Our brain doesn't want to be wrong. So to give you another example of this, have you ever been in a relationship where you know it's so wrong looking back, but in the moment you can't see any wrong with it? So there's that saying of rose-tinted glasses, and sometimes you notice that your friend's in that situation as well, and you know it's such a bad situation for them, you know they're the wrong person, but your friend just can't see it. They can't see the wrong that this person is kind of bringing to their life. That's because the person, or if you have found yourself in this situation, you've convinced yourself, you are under the assumption that everything is great, everything is working out perfectly, so your brain won't show you any of the wrong that's happening in that relationship, because remember, our brain doesn't want to be wrong. Our brain will focus on what we assume to be true, or what we want to see, or our desired result. So there you go, that's a little bit of science behind manifestation for you. Hopefully I've not taken too much of the magic away, but hopefully you can start to see how our brain can construct our reality, and it all depends on what we focus on, what we truly believe in, and just what we assume to be true, I guess, but also what we want to see. So what I've noticed a lot of manifestation coaches talk about quite a lot is this repetition of affirmations. So an affirmation is basically a belief. And if we're repeating that belief over and over again, we're doing what a lot of the manifestation coaches say to be robotic affirming, being persistent in your affirmations and repeating them over and over again. Some coaches get you to repeat your affirmations 10,000 times, and that's their approach that's taken to see this success in what people want to manifest. Just say your affirmation 10,000 times and it'll happen, or just robotically affirm no matter how upset you are about it not going the way. Just, it doesn't matter if you don't believe in it, just robotically affirm and keep affirming, and eventually it will manifest. And obviously when I was new to manifestation, I thought, let's just give all this a go. And lo and behold, I never got the desired results that I'd hoped for. Now, a lot of manifestation coaches watching this, or a lot of people who are really big on manifestation, will probably just say to me, you didn't persist enough. You need to persist. Or there's probably another wrong approach I've taken to it, or whatever it might be. But I suppose a lot of the reason behind it is because my belief wasn't there. And I think this is what's really important. You have to truly believe that you can do something, or you can have something, for it to eventually appear in your reality. And I think this is what a lot of other manifestation coaches talk about. And again, there's so much confusion. Some coaches will tell you it doesn't matter if you don't believe, just keep persisting anyway, because eventually you will believe. Whether you'll become delusional to it or what, I don't know. But a lot of other coaches will say, no, belief is really important. You have to truly believe that this can happen for you for it to manifest. So which is right? It's such a mind game. But I suppose the argument here would be, it doesn't matter how many times you say something over and over again. If you don't believe it, you can't push yourself in the direction of having it appear in your life. Because our belief system is so much more powerful than just robotically affirming over and over again. And I really talk quite a lot in my episodes about our belief system and the strength of our belief system, how we can shift our beliefs, because it is such a big part of our mindset. So if you do need a little bit of help with your belief system, be sure to check out my other episodes. I give you lots of helpful tips and advice in that area. Like, have you noticed how when you read the success stories from some of these law of assumption approaches, you have some people who are like, yeah, I've manifested exactly what I wanted, or who I wanted back into my life within a few days. And then you have others there that are like, I've tried to do this for 2 years and I've not manifested. I'm not even close to manifesting what it is that I want. It's really important that you just take the focus away from all of these different techniques that are bandied around, because that's not the key behind manifestation. It's not as easy as just saying something over and over again and it eventually just appearing in your reality. Yes, there'll be people that say they've had that success, and that's absolutely amazing. But for those of you that haven't, this episode is going to help you understand probably a little bit more about why that's the case. Now, I'm going to talk you through, I suppose, a more scientifically backed approach to manifestation. But all you need to know to start with is that you have a clear understanding of what your desired change or outcome is, and you have that true belief that it can happen for you. That's what's so important. You have to believe that this is something that you can experience and you can have. The rest of the manifestation process simply requires action. Those actions, those steps that support you in reaching that desired outcome. We can genuinely believe that something will happen for us, and that's key at the start. But if we don't take any steps or action towards that desired outcome, how is it actually supposed to manifest and happen? Is it going to just magically appear to us? Can we say, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire, and then just sit back and do nothing? Now, the way that you see and you visualize this manifestation will likely determine the types of actions that you're going to take towards this manifestation as well. I have this chat with my coaching clients all the time. They will have identified something that they so desperately want to change in their life, or something they'd really love to achieve. And you can feel that this is something that they would absolutely love to do, but you can also tell that something's holding them back. There's hesitation there. And then when they talk through this desired outcome, this thing that they want to manifest, they're so easy and quick to think about all of the things that could possibly go wrong. So to give you an example, one of my clients was so desperate to set up her own business, and this had been a dream of hers for such a long time. And as we talked about this new business venture, she talked about all of the things that could possibly go wrong, how her family would feel about it, or her parents in particular, what she'd be leaving behind, because this new business venture could likely take her overseas with her little family. And she was so quick to think of all of the things that could go wrong leading up to this desired outcome, or if this was actually to happen in her life and she was ready to take that step. So she was thinking about how her parents would feel and how she'd upset her parents. Would money be okay? Would she get the clients that she needs to be able to fully support her family, especially if they moved abroad? I'm leaving all of this security and this stability behind to go for this new goal and this new venture. And as you listen to this, you can hear that she is already manifesting for this to go wrong. If we have a desired outcome and we believe it can happen for us, but then we think of all of the things that could go wrong in the process, we're not manifesting a positive outcome from it. The whole manifestation process is going to be negative. And all of the actions that we take in that process will align with that negative belief system, those negative things that we think are going to happen in the process of us going out to achieve this and have this new thing in our life. So to get her to think away from all of the negative that could happen, I got her to take a step back and to start thinking about all of the amazing things that could happen if she were to take this opportunity, or if this was to happen for her. I asked her to think about what was important to her and how these things of importance aligned with what it was that she wanted to do. Rather than her thinking what was the worst that could happen in this situation, I asked her to think about what the best things were that could happen in this situation. Again, something else I talk about in a previous episode as well. The actions that she would then move on to take with this new belief system would push her forward into a more positive manifestation. So work on your belief around your desired outcome, and then think of the necessary actions or steps that you need to take in order to make this part of your reality. What steps are you going to take to get yourself there? So I'm going to give you a personal story behind this and how it's reflected in my life, I suppose. So I'm going to take you back to, I think it was 2018, and I was at my graduation for my master's. So I'd got a master's in developmental psychology, and I was at my graduation ceremony dressed in my cap and gown, and I had my mum, my grandma and my sister with me. And as I was watching everyone else get their degrees, I noticed the PhD students, and the PhD students, the doctorate students, all wear a different kind of hat. It's kind of like a floppy hat with a different kind of tassel on it. And I remember in that moment so assertively turning around to my mum and saying, I'm going to wear one of those floppy hats one day. Don't know what the correct terminology is for them, but I just turned it the floppy hat. And I was adamant, dead set, that I would wear one of those floppy hats one day. There was no hesitation. I was adamant that this was going to happen for me. At the time, I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew that that was part of my future. I knew that that was going to happen for me. Now, at the time, I was a supply teacher, so I just left my big career move as a primary school teacher, and I was feeling a little bit stuck. I'd started to get this new venture of where I wanted to be, and I was in a supply teaching job at the time. And that day, I was going to go home for my lunch break because I wasn't too far away from home. But instead, something inside me thought, okay, I'm going to look for jobs. I'm going to see what jobs are about, because I knew that I didn't want to just stay in this temporary work. So I spent my lunch break in this school scrolling through jobs. And interestingly, a job came up that was a university teacher role that also had a fully funded PhD alongside it. And there was hesitation inside me thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm fully qualified enough for this job role, but I think it requires a go. I need to apply for this job. So that is an example of me taking action towards my desired result. I already believe I'm going to have a PhD, but this was an action, an opportunity that came forward for me, and I knew I needed to take action for it. And it was really funny because at the time we were in the middle of moving house, and my parents had cancelled the Wi-Fi. And so I got home and I thought, how the hell am I going to apply for this job? I have no Wi-Fi at home. I'd typed out all of my application. But I was so dead set, I was so determined, and I persisted. So even though my reality was throwing a ton of roadblocks my way, I knew I had to persist because this was an opportunity I couldn't miss. And so I remember driving to the pub in the village, sitting in my car, piggybacking off of their Wi-Fi, and I applied for the job using sneakily the pub's Wi-Fi and sent my application. And the rest is history. I got the interview, I got the job, and now I'm 6 months away from completing my PhD. So it was a huge thing for me. But if I hadn't taken action, that manifestation process wouldn't work. So it's really important that if you are so dead set on something happening for you, you have to take the desired action to get yourself there. Now, interestingly, there's other things that before I even knew about manifestation, if I look back, there were times where I just wished and prayed that things would work out for me and things would happen, and they didn't. That I look back and there were some things that just didn't happen for me, no matter how much I tried to manifest. Some would say that my beliefs weren't there, some would say that I just didn't repeat my affirmations enough, or whatever it might be. But looking back, I'm also really glad that some of the things that I tried to manifest didn't work out for me. Maybe deep down at the time, I knew that that person or that outcome wasn't going to be right for me and my life and where I was heading. Or maybe my priorities and my outlook in life changed and developed as I grew older and I knew more about myself. Remember, your brain is always going to focus more on the things that you truly believe to be true and you truly want to focus on. So be really clear on what it is that you want. Believe it can happen for you, but also take the necessary action to get yourself there. You have to take action. Manifestation isn't this magical experience. There aren't set techniques that are going to get you to where you want to be. All you have to do is genuinely believe in what it is that you want and take action. Take those opportunities, take those experiences that are going to push you in the direction towards that manifestation. If things aren't quite working in your favor, you persist and you continue anyway, if it's something that you truly want and truly desire. Sometimes those actions will be really obvious to us and we put the action plan in place. We know exactly what it is that we need to do. Sometimes our reticular activating system is in play and it will make sure it shows us the opportunities that are aligning with that manifestation, the exact same way that it did for the job advert that came up when I was looking for PhD opportunities. So sometimes it might look like opportunities are magically appearing to us, and sometimes our belief systems are so strong that we're just taking action, even subconsciously, without us even realizing. The key mistake people make around manifesting is just relying on belief alone. Yes, belief is really important, and that's that key starting point to manifestation, but it's the action, those necessary steps that are going to get you to that manifestation. You're an active part in the process, and don't forget that. but make sure that what you're trying to manifest truly aligns with who you are, where you want your life to be, what you want your life to look like. So I'm going to talk about this because I know a lot of you in the manifestation community are wanting to manifest a specific person back, that relationship back. And you're thinking, why are other people managing to manifest their SP, their specific person back, and I can't? Why am I struggling? Make sure that this person you're trying to manifest back into your life truly aligns with what you want in life. We can become so fixated on wanting someone back in our lives, but really they don't align with who we believe we are, what we want our life to look like, what we want to experience in life, what we value, and how we value ourselves. And what tends to happen a lot when we really look into the manifestation community, it's a lot about working on your self-belief, working on you and valuing you. And what tends to happen then is when you value yourself, the person that you've been trying to manifest sees you as this whole new person that thinks, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to come back into their life because this is this great version. Or you get so self-assured, you get so focused on working on you and your self-worth that you eventually meet someone who aligns with your values, your beliefs about you, what you want in life and what you want in a relationship. So rather than fixating on manifest your SP back and really falling into that clickbait in the manifestation community on social media, focus on what it is that you want in your life. Focus on who you are as a person and how others, how experiences, what you want to manifest aligns with that. Focus on you and manifesting the best version of yourself, but don't forget to take action. Have that strong belief in yourself that will give you that drive and that push and that persistence when you need it, but make sure you're taking that action. Whether those actions are obvious to you, whether you are given opportunities or opportunities start to arise in your reality, take those opportunities that push you in the direction. So believe, persist, but most importantly, take action. That's where the science is behind manifestation. If you liked this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.